That's good. It looks like we look good in here. We look good on the live. What is up, everybody? We are live. It is the Not Safe for Work podcast crew. You got your boy, AJ, your girl, Spicy Lee, your other girl, Lacey, and it's your boy, KJ. You already know what it is. So we're going to get right back into it. New setup here. We're live as a crew. So I know I got to keep my eye focused this way, and they got to keep theirs this way. So it's a new setup. I am not used to this. Trust me very much, I am not used to this. So if you don't see me looking into the camera, please don't talk shit about me in the comment section. This is very, very new. So basically, we're gonna get right into it. So I wanted to do some. What's the best way to say it? Some housekeeping items. So, a lot of questions is, what is the focus of the podcast going to be on? So it's going to be three major pillars of the podcast. It's going to be relationships, mental health, and emotional health, and then finance. So obviously the one that people are going to be most interested in is going to be in the relationship aspect. Then I think probably finance will be a strong number two. And then obviously mental and emotional health, that's all going to tie into with relationships because a lot of that dictates on people's mental and emotional health. So what we really wanted to do was to get together as a team. We all watched the new Netflix series, Sex Life, one of the hottest Netflix series out there right now. Very, very popular in social media, on Twitter, Facebook. I mean, because of some things, obviously, has some nice spicy scenes in there. But it's really the main concept of the show. You have a housewife, Billy, who is happily married to her jack of all trades husband, Cooper. And then one day, while she's breastfeeding, she just has a flashback of her old flame, Brad. Now, through the story, you'll figure out that Brad is your atypical, douche, but he's got a good digging stick, right? So he did all the crazy shit that made her swoon. He hit it right. He gave her that rush. He gave her that passion. So really there is a concept here. You have high stability, which is Cooper, and then you have high passion, which is Brad. And as I know people say, oh, Jordan, that's just a movie. That's just a TV show. But really, it's real life. Everyone wants it all. In the show, she wants it all. She wants to combine the two men, but you can't. You have to make choices. You have to make decisions. So what we're going to kind of discuss today, and I'm going to start it off and we'll just let it flow from there, is high stability versus high passion. And ladies, I'm going to kick it to you. Whoever wants to go first, you can.
I thought you started.
I did. I started. What makes a marriage and a relationship work? So I know none of us here are married, but what makes a long-term relationship work? In your eyes, because it always seems like there's a power struggle between a woman wanting that high passion, because passion is very important to a woman, but then also having that high stability. But which one trumps? Which one wins? I'm gonna just kick it to y'all.
Go ahead, Lisa. You got this one.
I honestly I don't know. Well, just from the parts of the show that I saw, I think there was also like a communication error because parts in there she used to say that Wilhelmina, or Billy as she was called, used to say that like in the beginning it was there, both were there, like the stability and the passion. And so I was with work and the decisions they made as far as her staying home is kind of where they maybe had to have a new conversation. Not trying to avoid the question, but so I wanted to throw that out there first. But as far as, man, I don't know. I feel like you
can't have one without the other.
Yeah, you can have both. I feel I think, and the reason why I set that premise as far as the communication is that you have to be able to have a communication around that. Like, so if something is lacking or if things have changed, you have to be able to have, y'all bear with me, I have to get used to this setup too. But you have to be able to have a talk and say, hey, you know what, we used to do these things, or these are some of the things. And she also wasn't very honest with him in the beginning because she didn't express the fact that she, likes the edge or express the things that she used to do in the past. And so that kind of set him up to not fully know her. And once again, a communication error. So I feel like you can have it, you just need to communicate. And it may not be like full blown of where she may have had it in the past, but from him reading her diary or journal, whatever you want to call it, and actually attempting, lets you know that if you have a communication and it's somebody who really wants to see you happy and you want to see them happy, they're going to try. It may not be, you know, A1 every time, but you know, spice it.
I feel like you want to say something.
No, go ahead.
No, I think we need to balance this out right now.
All right,
I'm still trying to get my thoughts together on the whole thing, honestly.
All right. So what I was going to say is that she did the right thing. When you go through a major hope phase, what she did was she rebranded herself. But the thing about it is, once you retire, once you get out the game, you got to stay out the game. And that's where you guys always hear me talk about 80-20. She let that 20% get to her. She really let that 20% get to her. And a lot of people in relationships allow that 20% to just nag on them. I'm under the concept that you're not going to be happy 24/7, and you're not going to get everything you want, right? As for me, I know when I get married, there's going to be things about my wife that I wish were better. Oh, I wish she had a fatter ass. I wish she had some bigger titties. I wish she was nasty. I wish she liked to play video games with me. There can be different things that I may desire.
That's not
But
15%.
Huh?
20%. Your desires.
Your desires are the 20% in my because there's needs and wants, right? And I think in today's society, we put the cart before the horse. We're always putting our wants before our needs. And this is what has led to us to such drastic situations. And you and I, Lee, were talking a few days ago about this. I said, we're not happy. People are not happy single. Anyone who tells you who's over the age of 28 that they're happily single is fucking lying. No one's happily single over the age of 28. Yes, from like 18 to 28, being single is the greatest thing ever. But once you get over that 30 hill, being single is for the streets. It is horrible.
I never.
No, I don't, you know, I'm on Facebook and I see people talking about how miserable they are being single all the time. Or I need my man to have this. I need a girl for this. I need my man to be able to do this. But this is where it kind of hurts us because the older we get, the more restrictions we put on ourselves, the more standards we have. So, but to get back on topic, you're not going to get everything you want. And you got to understand, she made a great business decision. She made all the right decisions. It's just she allowed her wants to basically destroy her needs.
Yeah, but I don't think she was honest though, because I don't think it's wrong if she wants, you know, their sex life to be a little more spicy on occasion. Or even part of the problem she said is that he wasn't paying attention to her. Can you imagine being in a situation where it's supposed to be built on, you know, the intimacy and the friendship and stuff like that, and they're not paying attention to you? That's a hard situation to be in.
But I think what happened was, it's that place in marriage where it kind of things get a little complacent. So
Yes.
at least like after kids, and he said it himself, he was so focused on working and the children that he didn't even realize that they were lacking in sex. So yes, communication.
Mid-sex, he didn't realize.
Oh yeah, that
he was like
horrible.
mid-sex.
And he was.
Oh yeah,
It
that's
was still
but
like-
no. But
Yeah.
then he remember with his friend, he admitted that he had now like his sex drive changed. So that is, I mean, that's something that, you know, sometimes that women don't even really think of as the male sex drive. You know, it just kind of decreases as they get older. Just saying. But what I'm trying to say is, especially when you touched on the 85. Well, you said 80-20.
Yeah, they
But
said
she
85%.
actually said 85-15. So when you talk about stability, he was everything that she needed. So although she wasn't honest about coming forth about her past, I think it was just because he was something that was different. He wasn't that bad boy, and it was something that she needed. So she felt like bringing that past was just probably going to change the path of her relationship with him. So she was like, for the first time in my life, I'm going to keep my mouth shut. And that made me wonder if in her past, did she open up about too much stuff, and that's what caused her relationships to fail, you know? So, yeah, so that 85-15%, I really do believe, that movie, that series pissed me off. I was going through so many emotions because I was just like, lady, get it together, stick with your husband, leave him in the past.
Yeah.
Because for me, that 15%, you can build that with your husband, and then you can see that he was working so hard to try.
Yeah.
That was crazy to me. He read her journal, and instead of being mad as shit, he was just like,
let's do this.
Let's figure this out.
Yeah.
And that's great in a marriage. And he the whole time he was like, you just have to communicate with me, be honest with me. But she couldn't be honest because she wasn't honest with herself. Like, she really, really loved the other guy.
And the crazy part about what you're saying, I agree 100% what you're saying. The crazy part is that second episode where he basically read it and then discovered it and bent her ass over that table.
He was mad.
She said afterwards, that was the best sex we've ever had. And you're like, whoa, he in his mind, he think, oh shit, I just raped my wife. And her, she's just like, oh yeah, we're gonna do that again. And he's like, what? Like he was feeling bad. Like when he walked past her, he was so you can see the remorse in his face. Like, oh fuck, what did I just do? She had the little scar, the little scrape on her eye in the mirror, and she was like, and she was smiling, looking at it, like, oh my god.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I think I hurt her. I was too rough. You know, so he's thinking like, oh man, I just ravaged my wife. Like, she's probably pissed. And she's just like, oh yeah, I needed that.
Yeah.
And then she tried to get that same thing popping again when he was on his laptop doing the work. He's like, ugh.
I think he's honestly was just kind of, I don't know. There was a scene where he threw up, like after thinking about everything, and I wondered whether she either disgusted or ashamed. I didn't. Do you know which part I'm talking about?
Yeah. It was after that night where they went out to the
pool.
bars, the pool scene.
Mhm.
And he's like, yo, I'm sick right now, and how much I'm changing myself to just try to accommodate her
Someone
fantasy.
else.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So like the fact that when you're in a relationship, you try to change who you are to try to accommodate somebody else. It's one thing to try to fulfill a fantasy,
Yeah.
but it's another thing to try to be someone that you're not.
Yeah.
He was really trying to be somebody that he wasn't. So he was getting all out of character, almost got a police report, like got trying to escape the police, like almost lost a client, like all kind of things that he just like put at risk unnecessarily. And I think that was just utterly dangerous. And then again, the extent that she went to again try to chase her fantasy or try to get closure. I just think it was so many
But can
unnecessary
I bring up
risks.
something?
Go
She
for it.
never physically, see, this is what I want to talk about with y'all, because she didn't physically cheat on him. It was all emotional. And really, it was just on paper.
That's woman cheating.
And then-
That's woman cheating. That's woman cheating.
That's all the woman needs.
That's all. Women emotionally cheat. That is
Emotional, but not even talking to the guy, but writing it down on paper. That's the ultimate betrayal.
I'd be
It
fucking.
is.
I'd be 48 high. I'd be ready to fight over that.
Because again, you're seeing how often in her journal she's writing about her husband. It's like, yeah, you wrote about me, but you wrote about how I made you some sandwich.
I
You
know.
wrote about how I was good with parents. Like, what the fuck is that compared to this dude blowing your back out night after night after night? So now you're with me, and you're like, he's not doing like Brad did it.
Yeah. And it was simply what got me though. It was simply just like how her friend was saying. I forgot her friend's name at the time.
Sasha.
It was Sasha. It was simply just sex that all she remembered was a good time. She it wasn't until after when the husband brought it to her attention, like she didn't. That's when you heard the backstory of all the other things that were going on. And I'm just like, yeah, sex is definitely a part of marriage, but it cannot be the whole basis. And I'm treading a thin line here.
But
It cannot be the whole basis of the marriage because that is a part of intimacy. You know, a husband and wife shares. But it can't.
how important is sex in a relationship?
That's what she was getting at.
How important is it? Because to me,
It's important, but I don't think it should be the end all be all because you can learn those things.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
You can learn those things. So I feel like if both persons like so as Spicy was saying, I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. Like I don't know. I'm just trying to think of the not the sound effects. But basically, you can just like learn those things. You can learn about as long as what you were saying earlier, as long as both persons are willing to come in and you understand that sex drive may change over time, but as long as both persons are willing to come and say, "Hey, I know I'm here. Let's meet in the middle on this." That's all it is.
So
I don't
that
think you can meet in the middle on certain things though.
yeah,
No,
that-
I'm talking about
I
sex.
had a
I'm just talking
conversation
about,
with you when it comes to sex. I mean, you can learn someone, but the basics you either know it or you don't. You can't. That's
No, I'm talking about
can't.
like, so if
You
we
just
say
can't.
we want to have it, we want like one person is like, oh, I'm fine with 2 times a week, and another person said, well, I'm on 4. So I'm gonna compromise 3.
So let me ask y'all this. I'll give you a more direct question. We'll start with you, Lee. Cooper, would you keep him or would you go back for that digging stick? Or would you stay with Cooper who's, don't got a long stamina when it comes to the
He
bed.
went and saw him in the
Yeah,
shower.
he really didn't. I know. Then he was like, nice to meet you. I saw you were naked.
I was about to see with some
What
blood.
do y'all ladies think of that? What do y'all think of the first frontal scene before a dude? Like, what did y'all think of that?
I didn't
You
think
know,
anything.
I
I
was
was like,
wondering, did they do something? The first thought that came to mind was, can you enhance that on camera? I'm sorry, no shade, but I'm like, is it really that big, or is this just a camera trick? I don't know.
Bro, that caught me. I was so mad. I was so mad.
Why were you
They just
mad?
stole 2 seconds of your life. Like,
Yeah, like, come on,
Men don't
man.
want to see other men's penis.
But we okay with seeing the girl?
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah, but seeing another
But
man's
there's
penis
never
is
been a
weird.
frontal scene for a dude in a TV show ever. That's really what made this show fucking pop off and all the girls.
and the TV show?
I was about to say, I don't.
The show. You've never seen
In
a
all
frontal.
TV shows.
I've never seen a frontal nude
Well, I mean,
scene.
just
for a
because
dude.
you never seen
I've
it,
seen-
don't mean-
I haven't seen this much
seen
nudity on Netflix, period.
Exactly either.
Well, Sex Education has a lot of nudity in it.
I didn't watch
I've
it.
never watched that.
Yeah, it's a TV show. But yeah, it's like that caught me off guard, and I was mad. I was like, I'm pretty sure they did that for the ladies because this whole thing is for the ladies. So
But as
it's
I
like,
said, we see girls all the time.
it's more acceptable.
Nah.
Hey,
It is.
understand.
Yeah, it definitely is.
We understand that that's society.
Yeah,
Society.
men want to see women and women want to see women. Not too many people want to see a dude.
At all. You guys
It's
just
just
need the
because y'all
fantasy.
don't want to see him.
Y'all just need the fantasy, like, yo, he's laying it down. He's laying real pipe right now, and he's doing it consistently in different places. Y'all can fantasize. They out at the beach. They out playing Stranded and Come Save Me. They playing in
I feel like you thought
at the
this
bar
was-
scenes.
I
Huh?
feel like you thought this through.
No, I'm just saying, like, this the whole fantasy creation. Like, she had so many different scenarios.
Yeah.
And she's like, yo, I remember the time we did this in front of the fireplace.
She
We did this
fucked
over
a lot.
here. Like, and that's just with Brad alone.
you
Yeah.
have to understand, though, I think Brad brought that out of her because when she first met him, even with the first scene or I guess the second scene with them together when they were on the train, she was a little apprehensive to jump on the train tracks,
Yeah.
right? And then I think just that excitement when the train came just kind of gave her that whatever that she needed to continue to just keep saying yes and doing probably things that she probably never really done before. All those experiences came from him. So
Yeah.
he lit that spark in her.
Yeah.
He set that fire.
But see, that's where you go into treacherous waters because it's like we've all been in long-term relationships before. You can't compare me to your ghost's past, right? You got to be able to leave that in the past, right? If I smashed Rihanna, I'm not going to compare Rihanna to the rest of my girlfriends in the future or my future wife. And that's where I feel like most relationships go into the minutia of it, right? And when you and I used to talk a lot, Lee, I would always tell you the analogy of pizza and oatmeal, right? You remember that? I used to always say, do you
Listen,
if you get offered, if you there's let's say every day they said you had to wake up and you had to pick, which one do you want, pizza or a bowl of oatmeal?
You never told me this.
Listen,
I've heard the analogy,
Yeah.
but let's go to the story.
so
You
most
think
people you would take oatmeal, right? Most people know oatmeal is going to be better for you in the long term. You're going to take pizza. So this is the analogy. The pizza would be Brad and the oatmeal would be Cooper, right?
Give me
That's too
oatmeal.
extreme. But that's too extreme, though.
But no, because the pizza is good, right? You got this hot piping slice of pizza, whatever toppings you want on it.
I get what you're going.
Yeah, you're gonna want that. If left to your own devices and not thinking about your personal health, you're gonna always choose pizza, right? But the reason that we make decisions is you're gonna make a sacrifice and choose bland oatmeal because you know in the
Oatmeal's
long
not
run
bland.
It gets boring after a while.
It does.
I don't know how
You
many
dress
times
up
you get-
oatmeal. You can put honey in there.
I know you can put all that stuff.
That's what I'm saying. So you dress it up.
but it gets
But
bland.
just for the scenario.
Yes, for the scenario, you go through the minutia. So the issue is people eventually get tired of choosing oatmeal, and this is the sacrifices that our moms and grandmas used to make. You don't think grandma wanted to get smashed inside of
I think
a train track?
I think she did.
Exactly. So it's like,
I think grandma gets a pizza every once in a while.
yeah, but I'm just saying they suppress that type of appetite for the 80% that they got, they learned how to be content with that. And for some reason, we don't know how to be happy because, like, as you seen the ending, you just fucked your whole life up.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, she tried to have both worlds because she
Spoiler alert
said,
for anybody who hasn't seen it.
yeah, because basically she was just like, fuck me, but I'm not leaving my husband. I was like, oh, she done do everything.
Yeah,
And he saw her ass tracking on that phone. He had her ass.
Oh yeah, he was, and then he called the lady at work. So I'm like, I wonder if they come out with another season.
Oh, they have to. They will.
Yeah.
It's season 1, so there must be another season.
No, sometimes they don't.
Yeah, they get canceled.
Yeah, but it's too popular for it to get canceled, so there'll definitely be a season 2. But
I mean, this is very
But
spicy.
one thing I wanted to say to you, especially with her, you have to realize from the moment that she broke up with Brad and met Cooper, it was only a month. So she really never really healed from that relationship. So
Yeah.
that's why, even though
She wasn't honest.
Yeah, she wasn't honest. Yeah, and even though Cooper was great and he was what she needed, she still didn't get over what she wanted.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? Because she expected to be with him forever, and that's the problem. She never really healed over Brad, and that's why when she got with Cooper and Brad pops back up, it's like her heart is still like, you know, she's just in a rut because it's kind of like this was the guy I thought I was gonna marry, have this relationship with that I had with Cooper. But I mean, I'm proud of the fact that she stood strong throughout, you know, most of the series.
I was gonna say, I don't think she said so.
I do. I think she told him
She
no.
teetered the line too close for me. I wouldn't even had a
Way too
conversation.
close.
I wouldn't entertain him at all. No.
Went out with him multiple.
I would not have said. As soon as I saw him at my friend's house, I would have made sure I blocked his number and all the other stuff like that.
how would that play out between you two? If let's say, Lacey, you had someone that, or let's flip it, Lee. Let's say you had someone, that you know was a good, you know, a good lay, and y'all blew up, and then like 5 years later, Lacey starts smashing them, and you find out. Like, would you be as mad or hurt as she was?
I think it's a little weird. You have to realize they had an actual relationship. It's not like I just smashed this guy and I was done, and then they ended up being together. They had a relationship. She got pregnant, lost the baby, and he didn't propose to her, but he wanted to propose. But that shows you how deep that relationship was.
Mhm.
That's a boundary you just shouldn't cross.
8 years though.
It doesn't matter. That's weird as fuck. I just don't think that's something.
She said she had to go try the merchandise out.
No, she could have. She said the alcohol got to her, and that's why she tried the merchandise. And
You see,
time
she did
and time
it
again.
again.
That's why I said
So-
there's parts about this series that's a little unrealistic because I don't know any girl that's been like, oh yeah, I'm cool with
And
it.
you're married. You've been married for 10 years. For like 8
Jordan,
years.
she's not.
She had a whole nother family.
She literally just told her the night before she smashed him how she still fantasized about him. She's not over that man.
But you got a husband and 2 kids. You have
She's
no
not
right to
over
be
that
upset.
man. She has no right to be upset, but she is upset because that emotion is still there. That's what you're not getting. It doesn't matter if she got a whole husband, 5 kids. That
she
don't
never
matter.
got over him.
She never got over him. So, and that's like a big girl code. I'm glad they were able to get over that hump, but I would be like, see you later. You ain't no friend of mine. I would call you all types of. You won't be my friend.
Yeah, it's like she said, it's because they were in a relationship. Like once somebody's been in a relationship with somebody, that person is off balance.
So you would feel the same way.
It would take me a moment to like want to have a conversation. Like I would need to sit down and process.
With a husband and 2 kids at home, you would need to sit down and process.
No, see, I wouldn't even be upset like about the thing. I would just be like, you as my friend could have found anybody else in the world.
Mm-hmm.
This person that you know I dated, that we had so much history, you know, with. You were there with me throughout the history.
Yeah.
And then here's the thing, other thoughts come in. It's just like, okay, now, were you interested in them while we were, you know, like, so it's like so many other things that come in. I'm not going to necessarily.
But I mean, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Like, I would be upset at my friend for the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's just like, bruh, like, there are plenty of other fish in the sea.
But they also had that scene where they swapped guys out of their curiosity.
But they ain't swapped guys in that. They ain't swapped him.
Yeah, I mean, the boyfriends that they had at the time were not nowhere near as deep as Brad and Billy were together.
Mm-hmm.
So for them to swap guys, like, hold up, the guys are confused.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what?
I guess
This
maybe
doesn't
that's
happen
why
in my dreams.
she didn't hold it against her. She was just like, okay.
I think the main issue here is she didn't tell her. I think and this is my thing with people, when you have close relationships and it's like a mutual relationship amongst people, I think you just need to learn to communicate. Like if she would have said something before she did something, that may be a little bit different than sneaking around doing it, knowing the history that they had together.
Right.
You got to learn to have that conversation first. You know, people are going to do what they want to do.
Or even after, because she was drunk, so she wouldn't have the conversation first. But right after, like, hey.
Yeah, she could have spoke to her. Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely some shame there. There was definitely some shame because she didn't bring up the information.
There is no shame because she kept doing it. If she was shameful, she would have stopped after the first time.
She was shameful after the fact.
To tell the truth.
Yeah.
That FaceTime scene was crazy.
That's
toxic. Hey, man, I expired. That was future level toxic.
I mean, it's one thing
That's
that you're
future
looking
toxic.
at a train wreck, but then it's like you watch the train wreck, and then you're like, oh, I'm getting off on this thing?
She got off to it. That got her hot.
And she told she got off on it.
I watched the whole thing.
How did my ass look? I was like, these two. I was like, they on a whole nother friend level. Let me get to that level. I don't know. Her and I talk about this too. It's like when it comes to like Sherry, man, I was like, we can all be friends, but nothing else. Like if I'm really into someone, I don't see myself sharing that person with nobody else.
And that leads to the next thing. When he tried to spice it up and he took her to that club. That you talking about the mansion, the sex mansion
party?
Because honestly, and I know this is going to be crazy for me to say, honestly, if I'm married, let's say I get married at 32, right? And by 42, if I do feel my marriage going that way, I get down with some swinging.
I know, to be honest with you, I know of people who actually do that.
It's very popular in Baltimore, yeah.
But when I think about germs and swapping,
that was high class though.
I don't care.
I can't trust nothing.
I don't trust. For that reason, you can keep that swing over there because no.
So you wouldn't go to a swingers club?
No, because I can't trust everybody. Nobody really knows. Like diseases can catch up with you later. I don't got time for that.
I'll go for the observations.
I'm done.
I'll go for the observations.
I'll be like her. I'll just watch and I'll be in the corner by myself.
But see, I understand his pain. He's like, you keep talking all this shit about you want to do all this risky, danger, thrill-seeking stuff, and then when we do this, now you want to be shot. And he's like, it's not because you don't want to do this, it's because you don't want to do this with me.
Yeah.
If it was the other dude, you'd be excited.
No,
I got his phone on that one.
But I still feel like with that moment with her, she didn't want to change him. She just wanted more passion, but she necessarily didn't want to change him into something that he wasn't. Because that was not him whatsoever. That whole scene, that it became him. You could see how he was more into it than her. So you started to see that he was really changing, and that was too much for her. She's not used to him being like that. She didn't want him to be like that. But she's still unsatisfied.
Yeah.
And that's where it's just it's incredible to hear how, again, he had always played the role. Safe played the role, got comfortable in the role. Never did any other woman. His ex came by and he stayed focused on his wife, right?
Yeah.
And then it got to the point, it's like, hold up. His boy comes through, it's like, look, it's time for you to tap into that OG that used to be back in the day, the old stallion. Said, get that BD out here. So he just starts tapping in, and he starts tapping into a new energy that he's never really given credit to before.
Yeah.
So what if he starts discovering a new side of himself?
That's what I was thinking too. Like,
and now she has to compete with this. Like, hold up, I have to compete with your energy. Why not I develop something and then tap into a new side of myself and have a new energy? And now you want to back away? Now you got to deal with it just like I had to deal and actually try to compromise and overcome my discomfort in order to like meet your needs.
Preach.
So it's funny that you mentioned that because in the series, Cooper was talking to his friend about Francesca, which is the boss. And he was, and actually he said it to his own wife, Billy. He was saying, you know, the same way you feel about Brad, I feel about Francesca. That's the way that she makes me feel. He actually told her that.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, he's being honest. Like
All
real
of it.
honest. So
she ain't holding no bars.
so the same time that she was fantasizing about someone else, he was changing, but then he was also realizing something within himself that she didn't bring to him, that he was actually getting from Francesca.
Yeah.
So I found that very interesting, that basically what you're saying is how he felt.
But see, the crazy part about it is I love that you brought that up because it was two different things. For him, it wasn't sex appeal. It was the respect and admiration she had for him.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with sex.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure sex had zero to do with it. It's all about the way she just respected the fuck out of him. She made him feel like a man. She made him feel powerful. Because when we talk about relationships, and I want the ladies to hear this, sex is not the number one thing for a dude. It's respect and admiration. A man wants a woman who respects him, who sees him as a leader, and he wants a woman who admires him, who, I don't want to say looks up to him, but looks at him with admiration. That's more important than sex. Like no amount of sex can overcome that. And we've become so over-sexualized as a community and as a generation. It's ridiculous, especially our young black women, right? Young black women are over-sexualized, and that's a whole nother podcast, but we'll make that it's a whole separate podcast. But the sex was it for her, the need to feel fulfilled. Whereas for him, it was just the respect and admiration. But this is where I want to take it next. Is one thing that AJ mentioned was when Cooper started to get more experiences, he started to change a little bit. And AJ and I were talking about this a few days ago about, he calls it soul ties, right? And with the more experience you get, I always said, and this is just my thing, if you disagree, I'm sorry. Casual sex, friends with benefits, is more detrimental to women than it is men. 10 times, 100 times more detrimental. Women are not built for casual sex. Women are not built for casual sex. A sex is an emotional experience. There's countless surveys, studies, tests that show that women are not emotionally built for casual sex. And this is why there's always been provisioning around a woman's sexuality. And now it's crazy that after the sexual revolution for women, they're actually more miserable now and unhappier now than ever before. But you have all the freedoms in the world, but now you're more miserable, unsatisfied, and unhappy. Why do y'all think that is?
Go ahead.
State your question.
So the show shows a sexually liberated woman.
Mhm.
She even said she probably fucked half of Manhattan, right? So going through all those experiences, obviously you would think that she's living the life, but she always has this emptiness in her because she's created so many experiences for herself. She's always searching the old experiences again. She's always searching for that old high. That's what the whole series is about, her trying to get that high back. Because she gave it up for the life with Cooper. And this is where I'm saying is that's why friends with benefits and casual sex is the worst thing a woman could do for herself, because all you're doing is creating new experiences and expectations for yourself. So it'll make you harder to pair bond with a man in the future. Because let's say you've had sex with, I'll throw a number out there, 50 dudes, right? And there were certain dudes who just absolutely blew your mind. There were certain dudes who gave you a thrill-seeking high. There were certain dudes who gave you that comfort and emotional stability. And then now you got to settle on one. You get one. All you got to do is get one. So now you get one, but that one is lacking in the thrill. He's lacking in the sex, but he has everything else. You still experience that. You can't take that experience back. That experience is still in your soul. It's still in your eyes. It's still in your memory. Now you always have that lack of content, and you have that yearning for it again.
So phrase your question. All that.
I was about to say.
It's
That's like the question changed.
Is casual sex more detrimental to women than men?
Because you said a lot. Because you're basing it off of experiences, and you have to realize it doesn't matter how many experiences you have. A woman can have 2 experiences or 50 experiences. When it comes to finding that one, I still feel like it's a difficult thing. And sometimes that beast is living within you. You know, it's like you have to grow as a person, or you have to get through things in your life to even meet the one. A lot of times people haven't healed. I don't really think it's about having sex with all these people. That that's what's making it detrimental for a woman. But when it comes to women being more emotional, I do think that is hard. I am going to say it's not easy for women, and I don't know, maybe Lisa doesn't agree with me. I know some women can do it, but there's a lot of women who get too emotionally attached. And because you have to think about it, intimacy brings on another level of emotions
And risk.
feelings, and risk. So I think with that being said, it may be a little bit more detrimental to women because we are naturally emotional. So it'll be hard for us to just, have all these relationships. I feel like it'll damage you along the way, for sure. Especially because sometimes when you get emotionally attached, you're going to be looking for something more, and more isn't going to be there because you set that expectation from the door that this is all it's ever going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're just hopping from this Joe to that Joe, and you're doing the same thing with everybody else, and you're never going to get what you're looking for,
I got you.
So
Lisa.
I teetered around that, but I got
Where's the
yeah.
I agree with Lee when she says about the experience aspect. I don't think that would be the reason why it would be a detriment to women, because at the end of the day, even if you don't say you have two experiences, for lack of a better word, you are who you are. So if you feel like some form of excitement or something is missing, you're going to feel that way. Just like people who say they want, they may have been in a smaller town. They may not know anything beyond a smaller town. They just know they want to go elsewhere. So I feel like just that same innate feeling to want to move to a different city, town, state, country, whatever, will be the same thing that you have in your experience with your partners and your marriage. Now, as far as the emotional aspect, I've come to the agreement that women are more emotional. It was. It didn't want to come out. But you said finally.
No, because I remember before you were like, women can do it,
They can. I feel like they can. There are plenty of people who do. And there's some men who can't do it, who cannot, have multiple partners. They just want one woman, and that's it, I'm done.
I was glad.
So with the emotional aspect, I think I think sometimes I'll say this, we set ourselves up for failure, right? We'll say, okay, yes, we want to do it. We'll say, okay, no strings attached, or friends with benefits.
Mm-hmm.
But I think sometimes the mind is a crazy place.
It never works like that.
The mind will,
You gotta be short time.
The mind will. I agree with that. The mind will make up so many scenarios.
Yes.
And so the thing is that now you've done carried away, and once your mind starts doing something, your emotions are gonna follow.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the problem. So if the problem is communication.
Come on, now.
I'm always going to bring it back. So if you out there saying, okay, yes, we just friends with benefits, the next thing you know, what we say earlier, don't spend the night. Go home.
You can't sleep in my bed. You gotta sleep on the couch afterwards.
Or sleep in your car.
Yeah, sleep in your car.
But
Who said that?
It was a TikTok where this girl was she was doing the walk of shame, and she was like, well, me and this guy, we got drunk, we hooked up twice, and when I went to go sleep in his bed, he told me to go sleep on the couch. So she said, fuck that, and she said, I'm gonna go sleep in my car. So she left and walked down the street to go sleep in her car.
Too drunk to go home.
So he said, well, I don't want you to sleep in my bed, I want you can sleep on the couch until the morning. I'm like, if a woman told me that, I'd be like, all right, shit, true, cool, I'll go sleep on the couch. But she felt.
You give him your bed?
No, I mean, like if I was at her.
Woman
I was about to
said
say.
to him.
I was like, you got
it. You in my house.
Yeah, but so she left and slept in her car because she felt offended, and she just said, I felt so stupid because I gave you ass twice, and then you're gonna sit up here and tell me I can't sleep in your bed. I'm like, that's what happens to hook you up. And this is I want AJ to talk about the.
Never. You said you were talking.
I wanted AJ to go ahead and comment on the discussion about the detrimental for men and women. Who is it detrimental for? Casual sex.
All right. So
We'll tap back into that because I got something for that.
Yeah, it's definitely detrimental. You have to know yourself when you're getting into any kind of like friends with benefits situation. You have to have an honest assessment of who you are, what your objective is in this friends with benefits. Like, are you just passing time because like you're really looking for something, or are you trying to like fill in a gap or a void because like you just had a damaged relationship, so you're just lonely, and you have this huge like void in your heart or in your mind or something like that, or in your day. It's like, I'm bored. I just want to get this in right now. So it's like you really have to self-assess honestly with yourself and the person that you're with. It's like, hold up, what are you truly looking for? You can't just ask somebody their intentions. It's like, nah, I just want to get what you and just do this and that. But not like, what is this doing for you in your life right now? Is this taking up time, space? Is this like passing time? Are you looking for a relationship eventually? Are you done with relationships for a while? And then like outside of that, you have to also respect each other's boundaries and say, all right, we're not gonna do this before this day here. We're not dating. We're not gonna be having text messages throughout the day. Like, don't call me during this time frame here because
realistically, how long does that stay like that?
I mean, it's whatever the communication is. Whatever the communication is. So it's like, all right, this is gonna be a one-time thing, or I mean, I hate to make it so detailed to the point where you have to like write out a contract. But if you're really trying to like protect people from like feeling hurt, then you have to have again a very clear sense of like how you're approaching the situation. And where it doesn't work altogether is when again you have people that are just hurt that end up hurting other people. And that is just like big, huge snowball effect. So knowing how you're entering the situation, I think, is really paramount for knowing yourself. But where my wisdom kicks in is that it's best not to do this at all.
Oh, yeah.
It's best not to do it at all.
I agree.
Because it's just a very dangerous, slippery slope where if you're not on your A game, you might, get somebody hooked and like they can't handle it or whatever the case may be. It's best just to, again, deal with being by yourself. Who wants to be by themselves?
I tell you this all the time, though.
And no, why should I be by themselves? Nah.
If you can't sit with yourself though, I think that's a problem.
All right, there's a time for it, and there's a time not for being by yourself. There's a time you can be a detriment by yourself, and you start doing like.
But then you still need to learn to be by yourself.
You just gotta go through that dark side.
Yeah. So the thing is that like, so you have to, because I mean, ideally the goal, to have that forever person. But in the meantime, it's okay if you're single. Like when you talk about people being miserable single, I think it's like for me, I'm happy where I'm at. Of course, at one day, do I want to be married, kids, all the other good stuff? Yes, but I'm not like, because then once you get to a point where you're like, oh, I'm so miserable, then you start making the desperate decisions, desperate decisions that get you, what'd you say, the dark place, sunken place, or whatever you said. Like, so that's the problem. So it's knowing yourself and being able to sit with yourself, and then like as it's a whole growth process. Like if you say, oh, I'm tired of being, like, pick up a hobby, go to school.
I say that all
do something
the time.
like
pick up a hobby.
learn like how the guys you learn new the guy on the show, you learn new things about yourself as you like experience different things. It doesn't have to be experiencing people, but because as you experience new things.
They used to talk about how the church was so instrumental back in the day because women used to go to church and do their thing, and then dudes did their own thing. But people had activities. Like, remember after school activities when you were a kid? Like when I was a kid, the bus would take me from school to the after school program where I was at this church place that did stuff, and we did, like, I learned Spanish and all that. We were there from like 2 to 5, and then my mom would pick me up at 5, and then your time was always occupied. And that's what I feel like I miss a lot of, and that is one of my biggest issues. I have so much time. It is torture because a man needs purpose, right? Like, that's why I love being around kids, because it just gives you that feeling of purpose. It's a fun thing to be around kids. And I know I say that as someone who doesn't have kids, but it is a fun thing. And I know I may get shit tired of them as soon as I get them. God damn, can I return you? But it is fun to pick up a kid for about 2 or 3 hours. And then I love hanging out with Aaron's kids because they go right back to them. I love hanging out with Lee's kids because they go right back to her. But it's like, it's fun. It gives you purpose. Like, you know, when you're around kids, like as me as a man, when I'm around.
You want to see this?
Nah, I think we are here.
We are here already. We already here.
We gonna let KJ take the floor. On
Just let it fantasize. Like, oh, kids give you purpose. Oh,
Yeah,
great and awesome.
People in general need purpose. Like it's not just men that need purpose. People in general need purpose because I feel like people who don't have a vision will not. And that may be more, you know, on the Christian side, but where people don't have vision, you know, they perish. So it's not just that. And I don't know where you're going though with the kids.
Well, what I'm saying is it fills a void, right? It gives you things to do, right? You don't have. That's where Cooper was. He had his kids. He had his job. He had things that he was doing after work. You know, wooing clients. Mm-hmm. He didn't have enough time to think about back blowing sex.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He was still not being intimate with his wife.
He was fucking her. He just wasn't fucking her for long.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about intimacy. I'm not talking about solely sexual, the sexual side of it. I'm talking about intimacy in general. Like the fact of coming up behind your wife and hugging her, or when she tried to hop in the shower with him, shower with him.
Don't you think there's a time when
no, there are plenty of couples that I know that still do that.
They
stuff.
keep it spiced.
That's what I'm saying. So you can't let that guy.
Yeah.
Intimacy goes far beyond sex.
I agree with you 100%.
And so if we can't even have conversation, every conversation they had was either about the kids or about his job. Nothing was about them or about any other lights. I don't know if they had lights outside of.
Well, that's how I grew up. My parents, I didn't see much intimacy. I just seen it was us and then them.
I mean that doesn't make for
and that's 38 years strong.
That's what we can't duplicate though, because
it works.
No, it doesn't.
My parents been married 38 years.
That's from what you see. You don't know what goes on behind closed doors that keeps them together. That
duty keeps them together. Duty is the most.
I thought he said. I'm sorry.
What I'm trying to say is that as much as I hear you say duty, there's a certain level of enjoyment that comes.
But that's what I'm saying. When you see all these
It
people,
has to
there has to be some enjoyment. Like I do not want to be in my marriage. God forbid. I'm just like, oh well, we just gotta stay married. Like in a loveless, passionless, and like
but
all of those
don't
things can be in there.
Anymore. It probably stops with your parents' generation, but everybody after they don't stay in marriage.
But look what it's done to us, though.
No. But I'm not saying I'm gonna do. I'm not saying that I'm all for divorce. But what I'm saying is that like we gonna have a conversation. We gonna have a conversation. We gonna sit down. We gonna figure out how to get the passion back. How to get the whatever else back. So like, can you imagine you sitting there? You can't stand up.
Well, yeah, my parents don't hate each other.
No, I'm just saying.
But they're just not. They're not like.
But you're gonna go through phases.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And this is like that's the whole point about the thing with Billy. This is a phase for her, but she is allowing it to, instead of just letting that heat go down. Just play with your toy. I remember her toy now in mid-session, but like just like. Take
Why
care
are
of
you
yourself.
trying to play with the toy if you got a whole husband?
Yeah, no. I think they just need to find ways to spice up the intimacy, that 15% in the relationship. That's all she needed to communicate to him. Yes, she wrote in the journal. She saw that he saw it. She asked for, to talk about it. He wasn't really ready to talk about it, but he was still trying to show her, I read it, and I'm trying to show you the changes.
But look how many times he tried, and look how still dissatisfied she was.
I think
because it was disingenuous. Like
it wasn't
trying to.
But that itch could not be scratched by him. He cannot scratch that itch.
No, because he wasn't doing it in his natural way. He was trying to
be
like when they were trying to do the Kama Sutra move. What move was that? The move where it was supposed to when they were laying in the bed and he tried to be really close to her. I cringed as I was watching that. I was like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. And it's not even real. I was just like, oh my goodness. And then so he was trying to do things that wasn't his speed.
She already did.
Yeah.
It's not even that he was trying, that wasn't his speed.
Yeah, that car sex scene was crazy.
Yeah.
Car sex died for me at 25, man. Like,
but all of those moments that he was trying to have with him intimately is what he read from the diary.
Yeah.
And that's why when they finally went to when they finally did the sex party, she was like, "This is a memory we can create for ourselves." So she was into it for the moment until she felt uncomfortable. But if he would have done it in a way where he was creating moments as himself for the relationship, that probably would have worked better than him trying to be Brad.
So he needs to be a psychic.
Do you think?
No. But you can
He
you
could've
can
just
have those
communicated.
conversations. Open up your mouth and say, "Hey, I thought about this. This would be exciting. Or I thought about this. This would be exciting."
He just was acting. He wasn't even talking.
And he wasn't even acting. He was literally copying what somebody else
Yeah.
has done.
Yeah.
But that's see, and this is where you guys always get on me for always thinking logically, like, oh, you use too much logic. That's what he was doing. He's like, well, shit, this is a playbook manual for me. I'm gonna follow the instructions because he's.
All the girls is happy about it too. It's like,
That's
look,
what
you figured it
Sasha
out.
said it was a manual.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, and that's how honestly, obviously if I read that on my wife, we're gonna have some conversation.
I was about to say, you gonna do the same
I'm
thing?
no journal. I'm going, excuse me.
Yeah, I
Hello.
want some journal. I don't.
We
see the
need
journal.
you. Okay.
But like, why do you think these books are so like popular? Like women's erotic books,
50 Shades of Grey, all that.
all that stuff taps into their psyche of like this fantasy of these dudes doing whatever tricks and tips and tricks for these women, and it's not realistic when like real life starts happening. So it's like, again, find a healthy way to scratch that 15% or learn to survive with your 80%.
There you go.
Don't throw away your 80%
For 15.
for 15, or try to go after all of it. I mean, that's
I'm
the
gonna take
pursuit
the
of life.
85 and keep improving till we
And
get
I know we're not supposed to do this, but I'm gonna do it
we get
anyway.
to at least
Uh-uh.
92.
What you about to say?
I'm about to do it anyway. Like, spiritually speaking, we had this conversation.
Yes, we do.
I was like, God specifically built us to not have everything that we want and need.
Not at
There's
one
always
time.
going to be
Something.
something more. Like, as human beings, we are insatiable, right? Guys can't have enough partners. If you get us another partner, we'll probably take it. And women, like, as much sex as she was getting, she always wanted that next high. Or it was like, all right, I just had it. Can I have it again? 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, you're never going to be satisfied. And so trying to chase satisfaction, like, no, you have to literally learn how to be content with what you have. And if you keep trying to chase it, you're going to lose out on so much value or things that were like really worth your time. Because again, you're chasing things that are not meant to be fully ever captured. So that was my take on it. That's my take on it. Is that, like, spiritually, just have to learn to be content with not having everything.
I agree with him.
But that stems from being content with yourself. In order to be content with yourself and know what you want, you'll be comfortable with what you have and being honest with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So she didn't do any of those things.
I don't. But for all her doctors she was trying to pursue and get, and she
Psychology.
Yeah. She was talking about monogamy.
Yeah.
That was her thesis that she was trying to like figure out. It was like, monogamy versus polygamy. She wound up going to the closest thing to her psychiatrist or psychologist was the other professor that was talking about Dr. Sumner. It was like, yo, polygamy may be the thing. Maybe Brad could do it all if he's changed. He gave you all the mind-blowing sex, all the excitement that you're looking for. The only equation where this could possibly work out is if he's actually able to give you your all. And what did she do? She went out on a date with him to try to figure out what that change was, and then like, you know what? Could this be the all thing for me?
Yeah.
Come on now.
Probably. Brad not selling that. He needs no kids.
But that's what I was going to ask you ladies next, because I used to always hear girls, there was a tagline, good dick and a headache. Are there archetypes of men? Do you think that there is a dude who is a master of none, a jack of all trades, or do you think there are archetypes of men? Because I believe there are archetypes, right? I think me and Aaron are similar archetypes when it comes to the type of men that we are, right? Like, me and him both get labeled as corny sometimes or straight-laced, right?
Oh, God.
I didn't say that.
I'm bringing you down with me. If I'm going to die, you're going to die with me.
I said we're both cut from the same cloth. I didn't say we're both corny. I didn't say that.
Hey, man, hey, look.
I said we're both respectable individuals, not meant for the streets. We're both relationship driven. I said nothing on no corny.
Hey, look. I am a dude who plays Call of Duty.
I don't play Call of Duty.
Hey, listen, my ex used to always clown me about playing video games, but I said, at least you know where my ass is at, because old Tyrone, dirty dick Tyrone out in the streets, and you don't know where the fuck he's at.
Well, why you want to be with her if she wasn't a dirty dick?
Yeah.
No say.
She doesn't want it.
I know.
Dirty dick Tyrone out on the streets. You know,
I am done. I did not expect that.
But I'm just saying, like, do you believe that it's archetypes of men, or do you think there is a dude out there?
What is the archetype of man?
Archetypes, like, you have the nice guy, the asshole.
So why are they because they're on the
A
extremes?
lot of archetypes like that they're basic. The assholes are just narcissists. Like all those like bad boy types, they just got one category, in my opinion.
Whew, that was a good one.
Not knowing themselves. Dude had so much damage and was kept flipping the switch on her. Like every time they would go through a certain like good time, a bad time would come up, and what did he do? Kick her out the door.
She would always
But
come
that's
right back
resentment
like a
from his
lost dog.
past with his father. So he had daddy issues, mommy issues that he never resolved.
Stepdaddy issues.
Exactly.
Yes, very badly.
So again, he's super high on passion,
Mhm.
but lacks any kind of like
Stability.
emotional stability.
Yeah.
And I never answered your question. So when you were talking about Cooper or Brad, I think I'm more of a Cooper. Give me a Cooper. We can keep Brad in the 20s, but give me a Cooper in my 30s.
There you go. That's what. If you're gonna make that decision, because she made that decision, stick with it.
Alicia, like, she lied.
Yeah.
All right, so what's your
I definitely do see. Hey, look, I do
No,
see
no,
you
yeah,
as
yeah,
a Brad type.
Those are your two choices.
What? I choose Jesus.
Amen.
So I know we said Brad or Cooper.
There you go.
You gotta think you can only eat oatmeal one way. Pizza, you can eat it so many different ways.
But what I'm saying is, like, so here's the thing: if I'm looking to settle down and Brad is not looking to settle down, I wouldn't choose Brad. Like, I would be setting myself up for failure. If I'm looking to settle down, I would settle down with who wants to settle down with. Like, we want to sit down.
He
He didn't want to
bored.
settle down because he still had demons he was fighting from within, so he couldn't settle.
But he took your soul, though. He took Billy's soul. So let's say because I've heard women say this before, like, "Oh, he took my soul.
I
He
never heard
owns
that
this."
before.
Like he.
That's neat.
I ain't
Yeah.
never heard that before.
Yeah.
That's the problem. You be speaking that ungodly stuff over your life. Talking about took my
Like,
soul.
took my soul.
I know, right?
He took my soul.
Like, I ain't never heard that
David,
before.
You scratched the heart.
He took my soul. Only one person got my soul. Okay, bless the Lord. Come on, Hallelujah.
I've heard where they'll say like, "Oh, he took my soul," or,
I ain't even.
or he owns this. Like like where they'll get the tattoo. Whenever you see a girl who has a tattoo of another dude on her,
He got the tattoo, her, didn't
Yeah, he got
he?
the
The little B, yeah.
but like, listen, I've seen how girls will have like you'll be talking to a girl, and you see Jerome on her shoulder or her arm or something.
I think now they just put it on their nails.
Right.
Everybody wants
Nothing
it permanently. I'll just put you on my nails. Look, baby.
That's a
People
stretch.
do that.
I'll get the color you like. What color you like?
Because look, Janae Aiko and Big Sean is the perfect example of a high passion relationship. They are always really, really high and really, really low. She had his whole face tatted on her rib cage, and then when they broke up, she had that tat covered up, and then now they got back together, and now she's trying to get another one on him. And it's like people idolize that. They look like a cute couple. They look well. They present very well. But it's like that's that high passion. Who the fuck wants to go through that?
That's not. I can't even say that's high passion. That's toxic.
Yeah.
What? Mm-mm. I don't want that. But Brad or Cooper, Brad. I said, like, I'm not gonna. If I wouldn't set myself up for failure. If I know I'm looking to settle down, and this person says on numerous occasions they don't want to settle down, that is not the person for me. If we've had conversations now, you say, okay, yeah, you're interested in settling down. I need some time. We discussed that. All right. But I don't know.
But you know, Brad is going to keep dragging you along.
Brad is going to drag you along too.
But that's what I said.
So if you want Brad, he got to be 50.
But that's not right.
If you got one Cooper, he going to be like 35,
Yeah.
40. That's what you want to wait till 50?
No. That's what I said. We have that conversation. But like I said, I would settle down with I can't bop somebody over the head and say, okay, we settle down now. Like, no.
Because literally think about it. She met Cooper 1 month after her and Brad broke up. It took him 8 whole years.
No, I agree with you. I said I wouldn't choose Brad.
That's a waste of time. What are you trying to say?
Go for it, AJ.
I mean, I wouldn't say that was a waste of time. Like she built a whole.
No, if
life.
she had waited
No,
for
if she
him,
had
Oh, she
waited
waited
for him.
for Brad.
That's
like
what
if
I'm
she
saying.
didn't get with Cooper and she just waited for Brad to get his life
There's
together
a
for
lot
8
of
years.
women who do that. Yeah, what they're saying.
8 years is a long time.
That's a long time. And to not even be fully sure. Like, to not even be fully sure that this innate.
Excited though.
Huh?
But he was so irrational. He literally kicked her out and threw her bags on the elevator and dissed her, and then let alone made out with a random person at a wedding. I'm like, come on, did you really
That's
have to
too
do all
much
of
like
that? Right after she had a
But she
miscarriage.
forgave him each time though.
She forgave him
She was hooked.
upon the condition of him speaking with his dad, because she knew that was the piece that was holding him back. But what did he do? He did the opposite. He ran back home because he was scared, and then he just kicked her out.
You can't want it for somebody else.
That's what I was gonna say.
They have to want it for themselves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I agree with that. I agree. What were you gonna say?
I was just saying that it's a dangerous scenario to be involved in somebody else's toxic like traits, and to be waiting for them to get to that point. Like, you're not. I can see if they were like married and they're already committed to this and they've already built a lifestyle, but you're waiting to build that with this person.
Yeah.
You're trying to start this with someone else. It's like, nah, you need to like really assess like what you're doing with your life right now, and what do you think the healing process is going to look like for this person? Like, after he sees his father, all of a sudden it's going to be all better again.
It's gonna take time.
Like, he's going to be ready to be a father now, and like you just don't know what the flip side is going to be if this person meets their father eventually. So I'd rather leave that person alone and wait to meet somebody that is more whole within themselves, is aware of their own trauma, is aware of what they're looking for out of life, or knows what phase they're in. They know their strengths, they know their weaknesses. It's like that's for me the biggest thing for me right now. It's like, I need somebody that's self-aware. I've spent some time by myself. I've spent time getting to know myself. So as I'm out here doing different things, it's like, Aaron, spend time by yourself like I have. And I know what I like and I know what I don't like. I don't like being by myself. But when I'm out,
I'm just glad you have self-aware. I'm so happy. That's all we can ask for. That you are aware and you know where you are in your life. You know what you're looking for, and hopefully that person will meet you in the middle soon.
And it's just like, I know that this is not my forever phase, and I know how to like. I know how to not waste my time. I know when I'm just playing around, and I know when I'm being serious. I know the difference between the two. And I'm vocal, I'm honest about these things. So again, that's another big thing for me. It's like, can you be honest about what it is that you really want? I don't want to hear you say, yes, I know myself, and then I'm watching your behaviors, and it's like you're all over the place. Like, don't flip-flop, because then I'm going to see that you're not being consistent.
Yeah.
Then that validates your word, and I can't trust your word. And at that point in time, it's wasting my time. So it's like, I'm very keen on watching somebody's behaviors before I give my time and energy to something.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that, man. And Lee, we had this conversation before where I would tell you about a couple of my exes and how I was their Cooper in the 20s, and they went for Brad. And then now, since we are 30, basically, my dating market at 30 is way better than what it was 5 years ago. Why? Because they see me as that Cooper archetype. So now you want to mess with me, but you're not the same woman you was 5 years ago. So why do I have to take a lesser version of you, and I'm only getting better?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, because it's like, that's how I look at it. Like, you're older, right? You're older now. Keep it up. I know I have no right to talk about this.
I was like, where's this going?
I have no right to mention this, but they done put on a few pounds. You know, I'm a big boy myself, so I can't talk shit. But now, let's say, I'll give you an example. My ex, she's gained about 60 pounds. She's older. Mentally been through a lot from riding a carousel. And now it's like, okay, all right, KJ, I'm ready to settle down. No, it don't work like that. Well, you should have got me when I was on the come up, when I was younger. Yeah. Like, and now, and you know, and I think you said like, people, it wasn't the right time. Fuck that, it wasn't the right time. You sacrificed in the beginning, and you're gonna see me at the end result. And that's why I say that.
In the gym.
Yeah, you wasn't with me, and that's why I say, y'all looked at me crazy when I said it on the last stream, where I said women don't want to run their race. They want to stand at the end of the finish line and pick the winners. And I'm like, you don't get to see me making my way around the track. Say, all right, Jordan, I see you almost there. Come on, let's do it. No. That's not how that works. And
all women.
Not all. But this is where I was going to lead the next question to. I think the biggest thing for a lot of younger women, right, in their early 20s, thinking your early 20s mind frame, a lot of young women don't see sex as an even exchange. And I would say I'll even go and dare say women in general don't see sex as an even exchange. Mm-hmm. They see that having sex is they're giving most of the value. Whereas a man will say, okay, it's just an exchange of orgasms. It seems like a fair trade. I'm putting in most of the work 9 times out of 10, and you're receiving. How is this not an even exchange? So let me ask you, ladies, that
I'm ready for AJ to go first.
Do you look at sex as an even exchange, or do you think you give up more in sex?
I mean, you have.
And I'm gonna just put some context. And he's talking about like physically, emotionally, mentally, all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I do not think that that's an even exchange. That sounds more like an even exchange if you're like friends with benefits. But you have to think about like women. We go back to like how we're on we put ourselves on like a pedestal. I don't want to say like a pedestal. I guess I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just like I'm not trying to say that I'm better than a man, but I'm saying you should have a little bit more respect for me to not think that sleeping with me is an even exchange.
Why is it not?
I think that sounds a little low.
How does that sound low? Explain, please. Now we getting into it.
Because it's just I don't know. I don't. It just sounds low to me. Because
we are the prize.
Women feel like they're the prize.
Yeah,
it's not a feeling. It's a prize.
But you get yours, I get mine. That's an even exchange, right?
No, it's really not though. Because that's like you know that's why that girl felt some type of way when the guy told her to sleep on the couch. That is fucked up. So for you to just have sex with someone and be like, oh, thank you, it's great, and it's just kind of like I think you should have a little bit more
understanding.
It was a hookup.
Are you sure?
Yeah. In that scenario, they were hooking up.
I mean, they didn't know each other prior to that night.
No, he said that was the second time.
No, they said they had sex twice in one night.
Oh.
Y'all can't see my feet.
But like no, but what you're saying is wonderful because what you're saying is the truth that a lot of women feel like. And you meet us as men, we can tell women don't look at sex as an even exchange. It's like they're losing something drastic when it.
Because it's that thing where it's like that women, what's it? You're hunting and we're your prey. So if we're your prey, that means that your prey is something good. You want it, right? You really want your prey. So how is having sex with your prey just an even exchange? Like you got to put in that work to get to that women that you should have a little bit more respect to think that sex is just this even exchange. Because to me, that just sounds like you're emotionless. You don't want nothing more but just sex. And I think women should be held a little bit higher than that.
That's what I was gonna say. What context are we talking in? Are we talking about like you're hooking up with somebody or something?
That's what I said. Friends with benefits.
Somebody you're looking for to be in a relationship.
I would say both because
they're separate.
No, because this is going to be controversial right here, but I'm going to say it. There's no such thing as friends with benefits women. Women are just putting their cards on the table first, hoping the dude picks them up. No woman is getting into a friends with benefits exchange and not expecting and not wanting they're using it to trap the man. Not all.
You say you want to be friends with a woman, but you trap her as a friend just to hope one day she pick you up.
That happens. Yes, that happens. Yes.
So the logic works for human beings. It's not a man.
But what my point is that no woman is just sitting up here having sex and not expecting nothing in return for it. That's the whole point. Yeah.
I can't even argue. I can't argue that one.
Are they expecting a relationship?
Yes. No. I would say not all, but most women who get into a friends with benefits Is a woman being in a friends with benefits? It's like the man being in friends.
But the friends with benefits is lying to yourself. This is something that AJ talks
That's
about
what
all
I'm
the time
saying.
because
If
you're fantasizing that it'll be something more. So
and you know good and that. Well,
It's
y'all
not
had a
gonna be anything
conversation,
more.
and we
Yeah.
said it's just friends with benefits. So now, if you set yourself up and say, "Oh, hey, I know he said friends with benefits, but one day he gonna look at me differently," girl, bye.
Yeah,
that's
it's the same thing as a dude being in the friend zone, just waiting in the wings. Well, oh, Tyrone hurt you again. Oh, baby, I'm gonna come on over. What's your favorite?
Tyrone?
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's where it comes from. So, he hurt you again. I'm gonna come over. What's your nigga Haagen Dazs? You like chocolate? Okay, I'm gonna bring it over. What movie you wanna watch? You wanna sit? Okay,
What's
we're gonna
up?
watch
Doing all of that?
Men do that. I've waited in the wings before. I ain't gonna lie. I know what it's like.
I told you I cut from the exact same cloth. I ain't waiting around.
Hey, listen. I waited about a good 3 months, 6 months.
I thought you was about to say, yeah, that's like,
fuck.
Yeah, I think in those situations, especially with friends with benefits, I mean, I hold myself accountable. Well, I've always tried to hold myself accountable. But when you know, like, when you set any type of relationship, you should just hold yourself accountable.
Yeah.
Like, if you feel like you're getting emotionally involved, you should distance and break your tie.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you have to do, and just leave it at that.
Because I've worked with a lot of women and I've listened to their stories about friends with benefits, and it's always them. Oh yeah, we in a situationship right now. I'm just waiting for the time. You know, we don't got no labels yet, but it's coming. And it's like you're just getting smashed though.
yeah.
If a dude wants to make you his girl, he's gonna make you his girl.
That,
Yeah. So that's why I say a woman being in a friends with benefits relationship is like a dude being in the friend zone. It's the same thing. The friend zone is a woman.
She's thinking that it's going to be anything more.
A friend zone is a woman getting boyfriend material platonically. Like a friend zone is a platonic boyfriend, whereas friends with benefits for a dude is I'm getting free access to sex with no commitment.
But that's not all a boyfriend or girlfriend relationship should be.
Well, they're two different sides of the coin. So one is sexual access. The other one is emotional and mental stability and support. Yeah. Someone who has your back.
Mm-hmm.
So when a dude is in the friend zone, he's giving all this support, time, energy, and mental and emotional support to a woman and providing her with attention, right? Free attention. That's another thing. And he's not getting what a man would want out of it. He's not getting any ass. So, and then in the reverse, a woman in a friends with benefits situation, she's giving up her main card, sex, and what is the dude giving her in return? Nothing. It's not committal. Oh, you can't expect me to wake up on Sunday night at 5 a.m. and talk about the dream that you had that devastated you.
I guess I don't know if I've ever had any friend zone people.
You've never had a dude in the friend zone. No, you can't.
I don't have any guys in friend zones.
Yeah, that's what I said. I don't.
Because I try to make myself very clear that you are a friend and will always be a friend.
So, Lisa, you never had a dude.
You
never had a dude that you felt like was waiting in the wings.
No, if they was waiting in the wings, it was news to me. I didn't know about it.
I can believe that, honestly. I can believe that. When it comes to Lucy, I can believe that.
Wow.
No, because it's just conversation that we have. Like, if you're not really straightforward, she's not going to make any assumptions. So that's where I was going with it. Yeah.
But AJ, what do you think? Do women look at sex as
Nah, they definitely by themselves, and I think guys for many years have made women the prize. So when we're all chasing sex, we're all chasing, songs, music, songs, music, the same thing. Athleticism, our drive at work, our cleanliness,
determination,
all these things we're doing for a woman's attention. It's like I would not work nowhere near as hard for myself, by myself. Like I would prefer to live much more simple.
I agree.
If it was just for me. But again, that's what I learned being by myself. I'm over here grinding. I'm over here making money. I'm cooking and I'm cleaning. I'm taking care of my house. I'm like, who am I doing all this for? I need to get up and see somebody and hang out with some people. Now I want to have a conversation with somebody. It doesn't have necessarily be a woman. So I'm like, I practice like hanging out with my dudes. I'm like, you know what? Let's go out and have a healthy conversation with my dudes. Let's chop it up. Let's iron sharpen iron. And then sometimes, like, you know, I want to get a woman's perspective. Sometimes I want to laugh at the woman.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's a balance in certain things. And so it's like, you know what? I'm learning. How what?
Mm-hmm.
We got a whole microphone, so let's see the microphone.
No, I said sometimes you need doctor's appointments, but you left it out. But continue.
I mean, what? We do need that support sometimes. You know, everybody's going to treat from time to time. You look right in the camera, right?
I think this is why our podcast delayed.
Nah. We're going to keep it 100.
Hold on, we can do a birthday shout out. Happy birthday, Victoria!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Whoop, whoop.
Turn up.
Okay, sorry guys.
So, yeah, I think
Maybe you should do a show.
we all believe that women have been the prize and been the goal, right?
I mean, when you find a wife, you find a good thing. So, I mean,
that's what's been instilled in me, right? So it's like
it's factual. Mm-hmm.
it's factual because the Bible says so, right? And how do you argue that? It stood the test of time.
Mm-hmm. I think, well, we've had this conversation, but I think a lot of it gets mixed up in so many things. One, lack of communication, like one of us not being honest with ourselves and being honest with whoever we're interested in or pursuing, right? Second thing is that, what did we talk about the other time? I think sometimes, a lot of times you will do something, just like how Cooper was doing, you'll do something thinking that this is what somebody wants and not realizing that it'll be a detriment to the situation and to yourself. So when, a lot of times when what's portrayed out there, we as women see men will sleep with other people. And then so now, especially like the younger women, they'll be like, okay, well, this is what I have to do. And the whole thing is that, no, this is not something that you have to do. If this is not how you want to go about it, you don't have to put yourself in that, in that type of situation. Oh, we boring?
Nah.
You don't have to put yourself.
It's late.
You don't have to put yourself in that type.
I'm sorry. I wasn't going. It was a little bit in here.
But you don't have to put yourself in that situation of where you're putting. What do you call it? I don't know what the word is that you said, but where you putting yourself in a situation to have too many experiences just because so and so is doing the same thing. And so I think back to what AJ was saying, like we have to sit down with ourselves and say, hey, and it's never easy, when you sit down with yourself and have to try to have a conversation with yourself and be like, all right,
tough,
it's tough, right? You realize some things and you be like, man. But the more you do it, because it's, as seasons change, you change,
Yeah.
And so the more you do it, this will help prevent, this is my solution oriented, mind. But the more you do those things, that will help in the long run, and it will help kind of break down some of these things that are happening generation after generation, and it's like, especially in our community, which is who we want to speak to. We just want to make sure that we're being honest with ourselves and in turn being honest with each other.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about it is, in the first time in history, in the last 10 years to now, the majority of versions are now men. Isn't that fucking crazy? Who would have thought that would ever happen? You take the average 21-year-old man and the average 21-year-old woman, she is running laps around him in experience. Right? Laps. There's a thing. Have y'all ever heard the word incel before?
Yeah.
INCEL. Yeah, you've heard of incels. Incels, involuntarily celibate, meaning dudes who just can't get no ass.
I didn't know that was what is that?
You knew that was the definition.
That was no
Involuntary celibate. You're not.
I mean, I get the terminology, but I've never heard the word.
Yeah, they call men who can't get no ass incels.
Hold on.
No longer by choice, but this is now like I couldn't if I tried. And these are not the dude who's like 400 pounds sitting in his mom's basement with acne all over his face. These are like your average everyday dudes who just have no game. And because they have no game, they can't.
It's
Urban Dictionary. Because they have no game, they can't pick up on a girl. And these dudes used to be husbands back in the 40s and 50s. But now they're incels. And this is where it's like I said before, we're at a point in life now where statistics show men are the majority versions now versus women. So it's like an imbalance. It's like, how do we fix this? How do we? Because everyone wants to be coupled, right? And that's why I said the more experiences you have, the harder it is to get married. So let me ask you guys that: Do you guys feel that the more experiences you have, the more relationships you experience, do you feel like it's the harder to be in a relationship? I personally feel like it is. I feel like if you have too many experiences, you're always going to have that FOMO feeling, right? Fear of missing out. So it's hard to be content when you've like, it's hard to eat ramen noodles when you've had steak and lobster for a long time, right? Like the example I gave you guys once. If you took Kylie Jenner from her mansion and put her in a 2-bedroom apartment, a nice 2-bedroom apartment, she'd be fucking miserable. She'd want to kill herself. She would do any and everything to go back to her old lifestyle. If you took her from her mansion and put her in a 2-bedroom apartment with a fucking Camry, you don't think she'd be miserable?
I don't know, honestly. I don't know. I can't answer that because you don't know what changes her.
Her thought process.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, yeah. Obviously, there's some assumptions in there. But what I'm saying is, to go from a billionaire lifestyle to a humble $30,000
Well,
a year
what
lifestyle.
caused her to get to that?
But I'm saying, like, if we just kidnapped her in the middle of the night and threw her inside of a 2-bedroom apartment and said, "You got to live the rest of your life here."
I don't want parts of this.
Right.
Well, okay, let me rephrase that. If like she did something and the punishment was not to go to prison, but you got to live the rest of your life as a regular common U.S. citizen.
I'm sure she'll take that over jail. This is not this.
That's not a
These
good
examples are no.
What I get basically the basis of what you're trying
You
to
get
say.
into basis of what I'm
So
trying to say.
basically, I don't think it's to the point where she's going to kill herself. I just think she's going to work towards getting back to where she was.
No, she would be. What I'm saying is, if she can't work towards it, it is what it is. She'll be miserable.
Yes, she won't be happy. I don't think she'll be miserable. You'll learn to be happy in different situations.
No,
We've witnessed, a few different scenarios where you take somebody out the hood and put them into a very luxurious lifestyle, and they're miserable with that one too. Because
Exactly, that's what I'm
money
saying.
and everything.
mm-hmm.
So I think it goes both ways. If you take somebody out of their element or out of their comfortable environment, it's possible to be miserable no matter which direction you go, up or down. So without overanalyzing your scenario, I get what you're saying. Yes, you take away certain luxuries in life, the person will be miserable. But in terms of how to resolve our differences in terms of relationships, more experiences versus less experiences, I don't feel like you always have to try to keep your high water mark. We've had this here, you can only take this or better. I don't necessarily subscribe to that. I do believe that people can learn to be happy with themselves. I think everybody has the ability to do that. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort to take the time to assess where you are and what you need. Everybody needs therapy at some point in time. Just take that time to spill your thoughts, spill your feelings to an objective individual that can give you insight into why you should process certain things a certain kind of way. I think that's so valuable before getting into a relationship and now expecting this other person to again help you achieve this level of happiness. I mean, we keep seeing all these memes where it's like you don't find happiness in relationship. If you're not happy single, you're not gonna be happy in a relationship because happiness is found in what Erykah Badu said was in drugs, or somebody said you find happiness in food. I'm just saying what they said. Look it up. I didn't say it.
I'm done.
But again, you just can't find happiness in a relationship if you weren't happy single. Just a change in your situation, some status is not going to, involve in your own happiness. So the more likely you are to figure out what's going on with you individually, the better you will be for relationships. Yeah. But who's taking the time to do that? Mm-hmm. That's what's wrong with society. No one's taking the time to really assess themselves. And again, it's a time-staking process, literally taking moments, days, weeks, months, whatever time it takes.
It's continuous. It's not just because, like I said, every time you're evolving, constantly. So you have to be willing to sit down with yourself on a monthly basis, however you want to do it. Yeah. Biannually, however it is.
Whatever it takes.
So what do y'all think, ladies? Do you think it is harder to be happy and be more content in a marriage with more experiences? Because to sum everything up and to finalize everything on sex life, that's really what killed Billie. She had so many experiences that eventually it came back to haunt her. So do you feel like with if now obviously the average human being's not gonna have
It wasn't
as many
wasn't
her
her
experience.
She wasn't happy.
She wasn't happy with it
Yeah.
herself. From
But
that
if she
one
never met
experience.
Brad, she would have never had that experience. Meaning she would have been much more
It
happy.
could've been somebody
No, it
else.
would have been somebody else.
You think so?
Or
She
it would
would
have
be
been something
so-
else.
She went through like 76 or half of Manhattan, 76 times superpositions. It would have
Yeah,
been somebody else that
somebody
blew her
else
back up.
would've
Maybe
been
just
it.
not as much as Brad because she fell in love with him. But it could have been somebody else. There's always going to be
She
somebody else.
She
like,
was looking to feel something.
these last 50 dudes were so much better than my husband.
Mm-hmm. It was gonna be
It's always going to be something.
Mm-hmm.
But what if you never experienced those 50 dudes?
But it's not.
Now,
It doesn't matter.
You can hear and like vicariously live through somebody else's experiences. She's hearing about Sasha's experiences, all the sex she's been having. It's like, dang.
I was gonna say to even talk on the whole incel situation. The reason why I remember them is because for a while weren't they doing like basically killing people?
Oh, they were like, I don't know if they were killing people. I don't know.
Somebody ran somebody over. That I just read it here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they were out there doing stuff simply because they felt they were owed sex. And so regardless of whether or not you have sex or not, or in a relationship or not, if you are not happy with yourself, it doesn't matter. And so that was the problem with Billy. She wasn't happy. She was sleeping away trying to fill a void. And she will never be able to fill it until she sits down with herself. I know that doesn't make for good TV, but
It's not the thing.
she didn't sit. Yeah.
I mean, just to piggyback on both of them, I definitely agree. I think everything stems from within. It's just from my own personal life. My experiences basically have helped me get to the point where I am in my life where I know what I'm looking for and I know what I want. So when that person comes, like, I'll be ready for it, you know? I just started to become content with myself. People have the time, just to say, you just have to be willing to make the time. It is a process to get to that point and be content with yourself, be happy single, because you say a lot of people aren't happy single, but I don't really think that's true. I'm happy in the place that I am.
Yeah.
I'm content with where I am because I know that I have a bigger purpose ahead of me, and I don't want to mess up. I've come so far, and I don't want to mess it up for just one little night out in the town. You know, that's not worth where I am in my life and how far I've come. I'd rather stay on my path, stay on my journey, and my blessing will come. That's
because you have a purpose. But when I say it's not
really so much about the purpose. It's just like where I am in my life as far as like my journey. This is where it's taken me. All my experiences, all those terrible relationships and heartbreaks and this and that and false hopes. This is where it's got me to a place where I said I need to kind of self-heal for myself, because there's a lot of things in my past that's crippling me from even building that relationship with someone. But that stems from my personal relationships, like, you know, with my family and stuff. So if I don't work on those issues, I'm not even going to be able to trust someone else to come into my life. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I get you 100%.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but the reason why I stand on that, and obviously I think it's scientifically proven as a fact, is because we're not meant to go through this life alone. We're not. And you may be content. I would say you're content, but you're not really fulfilled or satisfied. I don't think majority, not all, but majority of people are not satisfied, content, they're not fulfilled. And I'm going to use the word fulfilled instead of happy, because I think happiness is a fleeting feeling. It comes and goes. A lot of people aren't fulfilled unless they have someone to go through life with. Like, fuck love. I want someone I can depend on. If I need my suits picked up at 12 o'clock, I need to know you got my back. If I'm old and I need to get to a doctor's appointment by 10 a.m., I want to know that you got my back getting me to that doctor's appointment. If God forbid, something happens to me and I need someone to, have my back, I need someone who's going to have my back. And my parents, that's what they had. My mom and dad had each other's back. They may have had their differences. They may have had their dislikes, but they had each other's back.
That's love.
Facts. I was like, no. So here's the thing. I think what needs to be understood is, as I always say, you're in seasons in your life. On your journey, it's never going to be like, there's some up seasons, some down seasons. So when people talk about, just in general, about you being happy or you being content with in your singleness, it's not necessarily saying. So when you what's the best way to describe it? If you got a car, I don't know, 2003 car. you happy with the car right now because you're working towards something else. So it doesn't mean that you're ever like, okay, I don't want this. It's just saying that this is where I'm at right now. I'm happy with where I'm at right now and working towards where I want to go. So that's all that is. So the problem comes in when you're in a situation, and I don't know the best. I don't want to like when you're in a situation. We'll just say when you're you're single, and then now all of a sudden you're like, oh my god, I have to be in a relationship right now. I have to be in a relationship right now. I can't do that. I can't be right now. Well then, if you're just like how I don't know which one of you said it. If you're never like if you can't learn to be content at this stage, how you expect to be content in the next stage? Something's gonna happen that's gonna. I think you had said it, Adrian. Something's gonna happen where so you have to learn at those little steps. And don't get me wrong, it's not easy, but you learn through those processes. You learn yourself. You know, if you Jesus believing person, you rely on the Lord, and you I did that. And you know you keep it moving forward, but you it's a journey though. It's a process. It's not like it's not instant. You learn that as you go on. You know.
All right, so we're gonna wrap things up here. Final thoughts. Does anyone want to share some final thoughts around the sex life series and just being content and happy in marriage and the stability versus passion? Any final thoughts?
I'm gonna just say communication.
You're gonna say communication. Final thoughts, Lee?
I mean, you just have to be honest with yourself, especially before you get into any relationships. You have to truly be honest with yourself, work on yourself, really get to a point where you know what you want and you can articulate it, and not be scared to articulate it. So that's kind of my final thoughts and everything.
All right. Final thoughts, AJ?
That was a very telling movie, and the fact that it's so popular right now is even more telling right now, and just like where society is. So I think it's really causing people to just hopefully reflect more on where they are, what kind of things they're doing to sabotage potentially good things or sabotage their future.
Mm-hmm.
So I just hope people take the time to like really just self-reflect on what energy they're putting out there, why they're looking for certain things. Just take the time to look at yourself.
Yeah.
All right. And I'll finish up with we need to learn discipline all around. I know last episode we infamously talked about dick discipline, but there needs to be discipline within your relationship too. That it's a fleeting feeling. And I feel like we chase highs all the time. If you have someone, and AJ really caught me off guard and really made me think about it, and he was right, 100% right. Damn, that is love. If you have someone who truly has your back, right? Someone who provides you great stability, great emotional support, and great mental support, and is a ride or die and is there for you, what more can you ask for? So what? That person doesn't have the swag. So what? That person doesn't have the look. So what? When you post pictures in your girls chat, they don't give you all the likes and comments and like, because we all know the girl chat is very important. If you get put in that girl chat and you don't get positive reviews, you may be out of there, my brother. But listen, ladies, listen, ladies and gentlemen, please value the person and not the experience. This is the Not Safe for Work podcast. We'll be back next week. I appreciate y'all rocking with us this Saturday night. Everyone have a great Saturday night, and we are out. Peace.